Hey yo YouTube, I am here to continue talking about the Band of Titans campaign. I've recently been trying to knock out. Um, this last stretch should catch me up to where the party left off. The brewery that we own is owned by a group of Irish travelers. So we were heading to the Aiel Holy City so he could become Aiel Chief because this group didn't have one. My notes for this is actually pretty skippy because most of this is about Craven becoming a gypsy so he can marry a gypsy girl, which is a storyline I don't care about at all. Uh, some interesting things do happen in this session that change the whole uh, dynamic of the party. But truth be told, if it wasn't for a video that my GM came out with recently, some of this stuff I wouldn't remember. Like I didn't remember the name of the city or what type of chief he was going to become or anything like that. And like I said before, this area is supposed to be really based off of the Wheel of Time. Um, I know, like right off the bat, because the warrior set in this area uh, are to a point. I guess they were really aggressive because almost immediately a fight gets picked between two groups, our group and another group of them. Um, and the way the society sees, as long as rules of engagement are met, no one should have a problem. Like later on, we find out that they don't care too much for missile weapons or magic. From memory, if I had to guess, because we had to go see, for him to get approved, we had to go see, I guess, someone called the Aes Sedai or the Wise Ones. I always prefer to the group as the Wise Ones, but according to one of my notes, the name Aes Sedai comes up. Uh, but I'm guessing whenever we went to go see them, the group forwarded us, and the interaction ended up getting hostile, and we ended up fighting. Because of the situation, like for the most part, everybody goes non-lethal, not just Johan. So we end up having a bunch of survivors. Uh, and it turns out in this society, whenever you lose to a battle, you become a Gashine servant to the person you lost to for a year. So the reactions are mixed whenever we find this out. Like whenever Craven first finds out, he's kind of like, or the DM points this out later that he noticed this. The Craven's reaction was like, all right, I got some new servants, and then we find out that or he's got some new men under him, but we find out that Gashines, they can't do anything in battle for the whole year. Like they can't do any form of fighting. Like I know initially Craven just wants to pawn them off, like just give them to different masters, and not worry about it all himself. And Johan's, cause like I said, it's another time where they kind of have a different view. And Johan's kind of like, no, this is our mess. We need to clean it up. And in the long term, Johan ends up working it out as he doesn't. He doesn't use them as servants, but what he does is take them on as apprentices and starts teaching them how to forge. Um, and then it turns out that people who forgers in this society, they're not allowed to become a shine servant because it's kind of unfair because you'll go and defeat this person and be like, all right, now make weapons for me for the next year. So I know we do meet the wise ones, and like they kind of interview the whole party, kind of convincing them why Craven should become a chieftain. Eventually, they send him on some ritual where he has to go through a thing called the glass column to become this type of chieftain. And when we get there, there's already a group going through it, and their their leader or representative is already in it trying to do the ritual. So Craven enters in, and I believe Craven's only in there for like a few hours, and then he comes out, and since he came out first, it's declared that he's going to be the next person recognized as a chief. And then again, this other group gets hostile. They start coming. They come over. If I remember right, like one of the like sub leaders or kind of more important ones gets into it with Johan. Like they start having it back and forth, and like they're the first ones that really engage into the fight. And then whenever the fight first starts, Craven yells out, "Remember not to kill them." Uh, Something to that point. It gets argued exactly what did he say and what order he said this. But he says something at that point because later on when we talk about it, I exaggerate what he said. I said like he said kill them all or something like that. But yeah, I believe it was something like remember not to or remember to kill them. Uh, and then Johan, because he has a no kill policy, he's like, yeah, I don't agree to that. And then like Craven says, use your best judgment. And this fight goes off the rails. This fight goes off the rails so much. Like I said, the long term, even short term, it changes the whole dynamics of the party. Uh, like I said, we were told that they're not allowed. Where it's frowned upon to use missile weapons and magic. Immediately, Naomi starts throwing stuff, and Seville starts casting spells. Um, they say Johan's going back and forth with this what he got into an argument, and just slaughters his like he always does, and then he runs over and I know he's about to slaughter the one I'm attacking, so I switch targets. I want to say him. I make Johan and Basker switch targets, or I switch to whatever target Basker's fighting, uh, and then I'm able to knock that person out. Uh, like I said, comes over, slaughters the person I was fighting. Who I remember it being someone important. Like I remember it being someone who Johan interacted with, who I long term or whatever. I kind of wish that was the one that survived and not the one that I did save. But the whole time there's a female watching off to the side, and Earth's player says, "What is that person doing?" And the DM's like, "They're just standing there. Like you can interpret that however you want." And like they sit there and they think for a second, and then they're like, "Oh fuck it," and they run over and they do their leap attack and they one shot this this lady watching onto the sidelines, like the one shot that they've done like 3 or 4 times now. And then like after that, it like I think the fight quickly wraps up, or they might even stop fighting. The ones that were still going. No, I want to say the fight kept going. Um, but then like immediately some of us run over to the girl though. Like I do know that like Johan runs over to her. She's done. Uh, we end up having Father Keaton, who, like I said, is an OP healer. He ends up resurrecting her. But even that, like, Johan's like, with the way these people's customs are, there's a good chance that they're not going to like resurrection. And then I want to say that the guards come and they end up blaming not just for killing. Alright, it ends up turning out that this lady that they killed was a wise one, which is a big deal. And they end up not just blaming but they also blame Craven because he's the leader. So they both end up getting arrested, and I laugh so hard whenever this happens because, like, I've been saying that was gonna either get us killed or arrested at some point, and it finally happened. Uh, but like I said, this changed a lot of things. Like in between sessions, I messaged my GM something. My GM's cool with it, and someone agrees. Uh, the next session, like we end up having to see the wise ones or something like that, and one of the stories in the old campaign in the big first campaign we used to do, uh, the the group, the pack, like one of one of our players back then did something where they got in trouble, and my character Huggo Washbuckler ended up challenging the royal guard to trial by combat, and that gets brought up here. But it ends up instead of it actually being a combat, it ends up being a game. We end up playing the like Aztec basketball game like that they play, where there's a hoop on the wall and we have to throw the ball through it. Naomi with her throw feats, um, she dominates the game. Like whenever like Johan and like bet all their gold on themselves. Cause like if we lose, then we're gonna become Gashine, like even a different form of Gashine, where like it's their whole lives, servants. Like we're because like the Gashines were white. If I'm right, we are gonna have to wear black. Um, so it's kind of one of those things like whether we lose or not, it doesn't matter. Or if we lose, it doesn't matter if we lose all our gold. But like I said, Naomi has all these feats, and when me and the DM talk about it later, he says that if we ever played that game again, he would do things different. Like the way it was done, uh, just didn't work. Cause she immediately bam 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 like throws three balls in, uh, and then whenever we win, the losing team picks a fight. Uh, it's funny because this time in particular, Craven is just shocked that these people are getting in trouble for attacking us first usually, and like the DM's like, well, this is how this society is, um, and in this particular case, it doesn't matter. They're already going to be servants for a year, so what's the matter if they fight us after the thing? And and like I remember one of the members of the other team was like this big Hawaiian, and like they were like they seemed to be like the expert at the game. And they threw the ball, and Naomi has some fucking feet where she could catch a missile weapon, and she catches the ball, and because he was trying to use it as a weapon, and she throws it into the crowd. And then the Hawaii guy just stops fighting, and I wanted so bad for Johan to walk over and be like, "Oh, you can't fight without your ball," but Craven was on the other side of the map getting jumped. Like there was like three of them on him, so I was like, I gotta go help him. Craven's fighting some kind of chieftain or something like that, some important person. Besides that, I don't remember much of the fight. Besides, like I said, it's bare knuckle. And then at the end of it, all of them end up becoming the servants. So So like I know Johan ends up having three of them, and he calls them all apprentices. But the whole group, the whole party, we have a handful of them. And like I said, at first Craven's fighting it. Like Craven doesn't want to really take them. Like at one point, like one of them, he tries to give them to their father, and like the way this society is like it wouldn't make a difference if he was with us or not. Because until the year's over, as far as we're concerned, we don't. This person doesn't exist to us, and that is kind of the way the warrior society is if they really want to truly become recognized as a warrior again. And then eventually he accepts it. Uh, and then I remember like the wise ones, they really take a interest in armor ready, which I haven't really talked about in this campaign. But yeah, the the band of Titans watch over her. In the other party, she's a big topic. Like she's always in their dreams. But she's a psychic girl, and she's always watched over by an orc that apparently like she saved in some kind of a dream world. Like he was in some kind of a coma, and she went into his dreams and saved him. And like the wise ones want armor ready to stay, uh, and it's kind of questionable on what they would do or not because we're not sure if they're a shady group or not, but eventually Craven ends up inviting for them to send him a representative and for them to teach Albereti at Titan Manor. So at some point we decide to head home and we start walking through the ways. And when we're walking through the ways, um, Wolf comes out and starts talking to Basker in the feline language. And it gives them a message, something about how there's been a mistake and Johann was sent to the wrong door, and that the Manny will leave in a short period, and whenever the Manny leaves, he needs to go with them. And the party's really confused by this. So we get back to the manor, and when we get to back to the manor, Vortex opens, and a bunch of snow comes in, and there's a bunch of ice trolls and frost giant fighting against a hobgoblin, a bugbear, and a warg, and all three of them are being controlled by me. Um, the party's really confused. Also, the hobgoblin is some kind of a priest, and he has three three zombie-like servants under his control, the ogres. And like, especially with the zombies there, like I remember like is really confused on who to attack and stuff like that. Eventually wipe out the trolls, kill the frost giant, and Craven introduces himself. One thing I noticed was that, because usually Craven has this long, drawn out name. It's like Craven, White Mane, uh, Galoosh, and something because like the Moore's gotten added to it since he's got on. Like the Galoosh, I want to say is the Irish Travelers group's name. And the Hobgoblin introduces himself as Smite Khan, Many Arrows, One-Eyed Cleric of Groomsh. The Bugbear is Hyde, and the Warg, it's like a Arctic fox, where I think it's a Pathfinder, because I guess a Warg regularly isn't big enough for a steed for a Hobgoblin, or a regular sized Warg. Smite is from an alternate Forgotten Realms world, where in this world, Drizzt was killed by Olbolg. Like instead of that moon elf getting killed in I want to say it was the Two Swords. It's Drizzt who gets killed, and then the war continues. 600 years pass, and eventually hobgoblins start becoming priests of grooms. And in this world, it's like a big humanoid kingdom. And Hyde and Hellfire are his cohorts. Um, Craven has a big thing against undead. So when he sees the three zombies, he's like, dismiss those zombies. They don't serve us. And Smite argues with them back and forth, but the but he knows he's outnumbered and stuff like that. And also, like Craven has a few levels on us, on these three characters. If they would have tangled, my characters would have been done. So eventually, he drops the control of the zombies. He even raises one of the trolls immediately, and makes a skeleton. And then, yeah, like I said, Craven has to kill that. And I remember I was so bummed out because like they had a good AC. Like it took them a while to take specifically the troll down. Like the ogres were nothing. Like they had an incredibly low base attack. Craven just introduces himself as Craven, and also like he doesn't really give the offer to join the band of Titans like he does the other Lost or the Outsiders that show up in the manor. Uh, he just gives them sanctuary, and then like a session goes by. Smite declines his offer and like gets on his warg and takes off. Eventually, he runs into the camp where the gray dwarf and the goblin are. It's Mo and a Darko. Johann Johann becomes decent friends with Mo over time because he's a great forger and stuff like that. But we don't really he doesn't really interact with much with Anadarko, and now that switches where Smite is talking to Anadarko all the time, being a goblin. But it turns out there's some kind of group that is led by Adina, and he ends up settling there. Eventually, through the course of the session, like all of the people coincidentally end up in this area. To a point in the next few sessions, like Hyde does interact with them, and Hellfire for the most part right now is just a work, so it just stays off to the side. But Smite has yet to really integrate with the Band of Titans, and we only go through a few sessions with him before we get to the end point. The character Miravik announces that she wants that the date, because we in this campaign we used to not, but in this campaign we use a modern calendar, uh, and she points out that in our world Thanksgiving is coming up, and she wants to celebrate it. So for the next however long, the Titans are preparing for Thanksgiving, and it said that the Manny are leaving a few days after that, so Johann's going with them. But only a few things happen important during these next few sessions. Like I know one of the sessions again, Craven drops out early, and me and Earth's player wants to keep going. So, like the DM prepares something real quick for us, and it ends up being like the character Aradina. Um, Throughout this campaign, she's searching for a hag. It's brought up that there's a Pacific hag that she's looking for, and this leads into that where we hear of a place where a hag is, and we go check it out, and we end up getting into a fight with two different hags, and there ends up being uh, like a giant tiger and like a few other animals, and I have all my characters in this fight. Where Johann, Basker, Smite, and the cohorts. The last session is us prepared for Thanksgiving. Like that takes up a lot of time because one of the reasons Craven gets so involved in it is because he's trying to change his reputation because all of these things we've been getting into, people kind of think that the Bandit Titans are mercenaries or some kind of drug pushers, and he's trying to change that look. And a few times in our battles, ends up getting a real dislike for werewolves, and he keeps wanting to have like a werewolf necklace or cape or something, a jacket. And he goes to the closest alchemist or the best known alchemist in the area and sees if he could find something about it, make him something. The alchemist tells him that there's a certain type of species of creatures that are similar to werewolves, and if he can get some of their DNA, perhaps he could do something. But he tells he's gonna have to figure out how to find this out himself. And I remember does a terrible job of investigating, and eventually he starts blaming the alchemist. He's like, "This, I think this alchemist is a fraud. He don't know nothing." And it's like he said he didn't have nothing to do with finding him. That was your job. But we do end up finding a lead, and the last session is us fighting these werewolf-like creatures, and then like Thanksgiving happens, and a few days later, Johan leaves with the Manny. And it ends up being pretty clear that Johan is leaving this group and Smite is staying. Um, well, it was a bunch of things, and the Earth thing was the breaking point where he killed the wise one. That night, I messaged my DM that I wanted to take out Johan and put in the character Smite I was thinking about. Because whenever we started the other campaign, I said if it's the typical goodly party, then I want to put a Wemmick. But if it's a more like shady, chaotic party, then I want to roll up this hobgoblin idea that I got. And then whenever, like I said, all this stuff compiled, and I was like, you know what? The Band of Titans kind of is the chaotic, somewhat shady party that I want to play this character in. But I think tonight I'm gonna, because we've already done the newest session to the other campaign. So I think tonight I'm going to do that video to do that campaign, and both things are now evened up. You want to know the rest of the story, watch my next video, and I'll check you later.